Alright mates, one of the first things I wanted to try and test on this marvelous phone, which is Nubia Z80 Ultra, was of course gaming, because this phone not only does it run on the latest and fastest so far Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chip. Oh, I didn't screw the name, that's very nice of me. But also it represents and adopts the absolutely unique technology, being the display, which is absolutely uninterrupted with no punch hole, no notch, so there is no indication of the front camera. However, it's there, it's under the display, so this is a unique display among all the phone brands. And this display is just meant for fantastic experience in content consumption and of course in gaming. So first thing first, what the gaming setup looks like on this phone. Let's see what we've got in the gaming mode or gaming assistant. What we've got, we just slide twice from any edge, either left or right, and we've got all the gaming tools, quite a stacked up gaming menu, from simple things like adjusting the brightness and the sound to quite thoughtful things like these absolutely vital for gaming thing as the info display, which shows at least the FPS, being some of the must-have things for gaming, but also you can see the temperature, battery level, and some other bollocks. So we got all the needed gaming tools. Some of them I don't ever use, like the screen recording. I could record the screen while gaming from time to time, but we also can project, meaning this function launches the screencast onto TV or computer. I don't use it. That's screen hand. I don't know what it does. No calls. Of course, charge bypass, which will power up your phone while absolutely independently charge your battery, so the battery doesn't suffer if you play while charging. So all the tools that you need, I only use the information display, the floating window showing the FPS, and I also use this switch of the refresh rate. So the default refresh rate for most of the games is 120 Hz. Yeah, there is 144 Hz available here, but it only works in some of the games, not many of them. I'll be straight and honest. And this is my all-time favorite game, which is Asphalt 9. Let's try it out and see the frame rate. Asphalt 9 supports higher, not the highest, but higher, 120 stable FPS with the graphics settings maxed out. It's the maximum settings for the game, not for the phone, not for the processor either. But we've got stable 120 FPS, you'll see in a moment. And switching to, like, forcefully switch into, let's pause it and try to switch to 144. We can do it in the game assistant and restart. Why? I don't want to restart, and switch into 144 Hz actually gives us the opposite result. The frame rate drops significantly below even 90, so we better switch back to 120 Hz. That gives us absolutely fantastic experience with the 120 FPS with not a single drop, so 120 FPS at all times in this game, and that's the great result. But I assume that having stable 120 FPS says that this chip and this phone can do more, but there is no such an option of any higher FPS in this game, so it's up to the game developers to tune up the settings to support 144, but it's a great result because, for example, all the Google Pixels, even the newest ones, only support 60 FPS in Asphalt 9. Now, the game that surprised me a lot, because being absolutely casual, not very demanding, this game, this Subway Surfers, surprisingly supports one of the very few games that currently supports 144 FPS rate. Yeah, that was so surprisingly to see that for some bloody reason this exactly game supports 144 FPS, but that's great. That speaks of the highest potential of this chip and this phone in particular. Yet another game, that one of the few that support highest 144 FPS, that's Riptide GP2 from Vector Unit, which is known for other quite casual racing games like Beach Buggy Blitz, I believe it's called so. And here we go with the highest possible 144 stable. Again, I highlighted stable 144 FPS, so that gives us huge room, not us, the game's developers are now having huge opportunity and room for improvement to adjust their games to support higher refresh rate, but that FPS race can go just extremely far. But here we go, highest possible 144 FPS, and I love the gameplay. I love the endless runners or endless racing games. Well, not endless, but yeah, you see that. And this phone doesn't heat up. You see that 144 is absolutely possible, even not on a gaming phone, because this is not positioned as a gaming phone. It's one of more of a heavy hitter for gaming reviews. Here is a mandatory title to review, Call of Duty. It is, of course, and here we've got stable and smooth as butter, 120 FPS gameplay with no drops. You see that not even one drop, not even to like 110, 115 or so. It's clear and clean, and at all times 120 FPS, but there is no 144 FPS option. Even with these gaming tools, if I try to switch, yeah, here is 144 refresh rate enabled, but I still have only 120 in the game. However, on the older Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 on my Lenovo Legion Y700 tablet, I had 144 FPS, but the reason for not having it here is either the game is not yet adjusted or optimized to this new chip, or more likely it's on the phone's side, which is a bit limited, just a little bit limited to keep it cool. Oh, we won. That's nice to have, because it's, for me, it's a hard task to speak while playing. It's Call of Duty again, but the most demanding mode of the Call of Duty, which is the Battle Royale, whatever you fancy. And here is a very nice 120 FPS, which I hadn't have on the Lenovo Legion Y70 700 2025. So the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 couldn't handle 120 FPS. With that chip I only had 90 FPS, but here we again have absolutely stable and smooth 120 FPS in the Battle Royale, so that's a great progress. And again, no drops in the frame rate, not even down to 110s. You see, stable 120, but I won't bother you with my poor skills in the Battle Royale, because I only play Call of Duty multiplayer usually. Here's another monster of a game, PUBG Mobile, and as you clearly see, only 90 FPS, which is underwhelming. But that's something about the game, not the phone, because I can turn the graphics onto very high HDR, Ultra HDR, but it won't affect. Let's try Ultra. Okay, it's not available, but whatever graphics settings I set, the frame rate doesn't change. It's stable 90 FPS, so there is definitely room for improvement for the game developers, because 90 is not what this chip and this phone is capable of. So yeah, PUBG 90 FPS, and that's all so far. Another heavy hitter that's a very heavy and demanding game, it's called Fortnite. I don't play it, but to review the gaming capabilities of this chip and the phone, I've downloaded the Fortnite, and we've got again stable 120 FPS in the Fortnite, and that's quite remarkable, as I only had 90 FPS at max with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. So this new chip is so much more powerful. Yeah, that's not a surprise, but previously there was only 90 FPS available in the Fortnite. Here we go with a stable with no drops, 120 FPS. So there's lots of potential. Well, what are my impressions and conclusions about gaming on this marvelous phone, Nubia Z80 Ultra? Well, as for impressions, I'm extremely impressed, because this phone provides the best in class, both hardware being the chip, the fastest RAM, and of course the best in class screen with this huge uninterrupted visual experience, the only screen out there providing this absolutely immersive experience, great for gaming of course, but also it provides the full necessary software tool pack for best gaming, because this gaming assistant is absolutely spitting image. It's the same gaming assistant as on the Red Magic gaming phones brand. So all the necessary tools are at your disposal, and there is even some room for improvement, not for the phone, for game developers, because any game thrown at it, this phone handles with absolute ease, nor neither 120 nor 144 FPS are a problem or even a limit for this phone. This phone certainly can handle much higher demanding games. So the conclusion is you could choose this phone easily over any other gaming even phone, because you'll have everything you need for gaming and of course for cameras. So this is one of the most, if not the most versatile phone out there so far, and I'll leave it there. Just extremely impressed with the gaming experience so far. Was nice seeing you all. Cheers.